Well, hello and welcome to Movement Church Online. I'm Chris, I'm the pastor here at Movement. So honored and glad that you made the decision to join us for Movement Church Online today. Whether you're part of our online family on a regular basis or you're brand new checking us out, or if you're part of our in-person family joining us while you're traveling or you're sick, we're so glad that you're joining us today. Today we're beginning a brand new series called Take the Lead, where we're talking about stepping into our roles as leaders in our homes, in our families, in our community, in our workplaces, wherever we have the opportunity to lead, how to lead well and how to get better at taking the lead. And so today, if you know someone who should grow in their leadership, someone who wants to grow in their leadership, someone who wants to take a step in following Jesus and honoring God with the way that we influence others, today is a great day. So share this with someone, take some notes yourself. We're gonna dive right into part one of Take the Lead. Let's go. So a few weeks back, 4th of July weekend, I had targeted it as the weekend where our younger daughter, Marvel, was going to officially become a bike rider without training wheels. We had been working little bits here and there, but that was the weekend that I was going to finish the job. We were going to finish the job together. So I took a little bit of convincing and a little bit of incentivizing. She was a little bit scared, a little bit nervous, but I talked a nervous Marvel into going Saturday morning. So we loaded up her bike in the car and headed to the Mayfield High parking lot, middle of summer, Saturday afternoon. No worry about any cars. And we worked for about an hour. And by the end of the hour, she was no longer scared, but was confident. And more importantly, she was able to ride the whole length of one parking area from light to light, all by herself, no training wheels, and without me holding on to her seat. It was a big day. It was a big occasion. It was wonderful. Cheered her on big time. And then we headed to Wendy's to get her treat that was promised if she gave it her best try. And she was feeling really good about herself and was in a very confident mood at this point. And as I was driving, Marvel started talking about houses, started talking about people, and she asked, well, Dad, who's the oldest person who's ever lived? And I knew that one. The biblical person Methuselah lived 969 years. I knew that one, felt great. She asked then, what's the oldest house in the world? What the oldest house in the world was? And I said, oh, I don't know about that, sweetheart. And then she goes, wait, you don't know everything? And now, I gotta be honest, in that moment, I felt pretty good that we made it until she was almost 6 before she figured out that I didn't know everything. Noble has assumed that from the beginning. Jalen's assumed that from the beginning. Like, Marvel, it took almost 6 years to figure that out. But then she asked her next question, well, is there anyone who does know everything? And I said, well, Marvel, I don't think there is anyone who knows everything. And Marvel, as clear as day from the back seat, goes, no, God does. As the kids say, I was shook. I was shook. She had walked me right into it and then sprung her trap. And from the look on her face, she knew exactly what she had done, and she had done it on purpose. I felt like I had succeeded as a dad, that she knew God knows everything, but had been surpassed in wisdom as a pastor by this 6-year-old. So I told her, oh man, sweet girl, you got more figured out than your dad. I think I'm going to have to stop being the pastor of the church, and you're going to have to be the pastor now. You're going to have to take the lead. I'm telling you, she was feeling herself that day, and that thought did not scare her at all, which is proof that she's 6. She made eye contact with me in the mirror, and she said, thanks for your time, Dad. I'm going to take the lead. And it was a wonderful moment. Now, here's what I know. We live in a world that desperately needs someone to take the lead, that desperately needs someone to take the lead. Where leadership is lacking, where clear leadership is lacking, where leadership with moral character is lacking, where we're not just being influenced, but we're being influenced for good. We desperately live in a world that needs someone to take the lead and to lead well, to lead with diligence, to lead in a way that honors God, to lead in ways that help people, that lead in a way that isn't selfish, but is selfless. We live in a world that desperately needs someone to take the lead. We live in a world with plenty of influencers, but very few people who use their influence for the actual good of others. They're trying to build a following, trying to build their own bank account, trying to do a whole bunch of stuff, but they're not actually trying to build something that works for the good of other people. We live in a culture where often the loudest voices and the most amplified voices are the voices leading toward things that no one should want and no one should be celebrating and no one should be moving towards. Like, we live in a time with extreme lack of conviction and clarity about what's right and what's wrong, which causes tremendous confusion for everyone, but especially for rising generations who are looking for someone to provide clarity and provide conviction to build their lives on. Our world needs good men and women with good intentions to take the lead, but I think it's actually bigger than that. Our world desperately needs godly men and godly women with God-honoring vision to take the lead. And I know what you're thinking, like that, like, yes, like finally someone's saying this, like finally someone's talking about the need for leadership and the need for clarity and the need for conviction and the need for selfless leadership. Like finally someone's talking about this. But I also know the other thing that you're thinking, well, yeah, the world does need that, but I'm not a leader. Like the world needs someone to step up and take the lead, but I'm not a leader. I don't have a position where I can really impact any of the big, problems in the world or make a difference in the biggest issues of our world. Like, I'm just a mom, I'm just a teacher, I'm just a counselor, I'm just a manager, I'm just a junior in college, I'm just a physical therapist, I'm just a nurse, I'm just a grandma, I'm just a contractor, I'm just an engineer, I'm just. And here's what I want to make sure that you understand. First of all, our world desperately needs someone to take the lead. And I think our world desperately needs you to take the lead. I think your world, I think your neighborhood, I think your kids' school, I think your practice, I think your school, I think it desperately needs you to take the lead. And I think that idea of I'm just this, I'm just that, is actually a tool of the enemy, because here's what I know. I know that the enemy wants to convince you that you are insignificant in order to keep you from stepping up to lead. Because if the enemy can convince you that your leadership doesn't matter, that your leadership is insignificant, that your role is insignificant, that your role doesn't really matter, that you'll be convinced that it doesn't really matter how or if you lead well. But our world desperately needs moms and dads and contractors and grandparents and engineers and counselors and students and parents and community members and PTO presidents and teachers who will take the lead and lead well. Because again, you may think you're not a leader, but here's what I know. We all lead something, we all lead somewhere, and we all lead someone. I mean, when you think about something, we all lead something organizationally. Some of you actually are managers. Some of you do own your own business. Some of you own your own practice. Some of you actually, you're like me and you serve within an organization, and there's something there. You have organizational responsibility, and you have organizational, management skills, and you have, people who look to you organizationally, that you are further up the ladder than people, and there are people who look to you for leadership organizationally. There might be relationally. There's relationships that you lead, that you lead a relationship, that you lead a household, that you lead a family, that you lead a friendship, that you lead a small group, that there are people who just relationally, they look to you as a guide, they look to you for leadership, they look to you as an authority figure. Maybe it's even spiritually. There's a Bible study that you lead. There's a prayer group that you lead. There's people that, anytime someone needs someone to pray, they're texting you, that you have a spiritual leadership, that because of what you've done and who you've been in people's lives, you actually have a sense of spiritual leadership. So we all lead something. I mean, we all lead something, but we also all lead somewhere. Maybe it's in your workplace that again, and it might not even be organizational. It might be not represented on a flow chart, but people look to you. People look up to you. People, when there's a question in the meeting, you may not be the boss, but people look to you to have an answer. Maybe in your neighborhood that you're the house that's always open, that's open to any of your kids' friends. That you're the person who's always doing something in the neighborhood, doing something for neighbors. That maybe it's at your school or your kids' school, or maybe it's within the church. Maybe it's within your home. There's somewhere where you lead. And if there's not somewhere, there's certainly someone. Parents lead their children, right? Teachers lead their class. Employees lead the people who work for them. Coaches lead their teams. We all lead something, somewhere, or someone, which means the need for godly men and women to take the lead and embrace their roles as leaders across our city and our homes and our world. It applies to everyone. It applies to you. We all lead someone, we all lead somewhere, and we all lead something. We all lead. But we rarely think of ourselves as leaders, which means we very rarely give thought to how we lead or how we can improve our own leadership. And so for the next few weeks, we're going to talk about how to take the lead and how to lead well, how to step into the role of being a leader in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our workplaces, in our church, in our schools, in our community, in our city, wherever it may take us. We're going to talk about how to step into our roles as leaders and how to lead well. And today I want to take us through an incredible Old Testament story that actually I think is one of the best things to help us understand the context of our leadership, because leading well starts with recognizing the context of our leadership, where our leadership comes from, what our responsibility is as leaders, who we're responsible to as leaders, because our leading well, it does not happen and it will not happen unless we recognize the context of our leadership. And here's the context, and here's what I want you to have in the back of your head as you read the words of Scripture that we're about to dive into today. Number one is that leadership is a stewardship. Leadership is a stewardship. Number two, that leadership is temporary. It does not last forever. No moment or no season of leadership, no relationship of leadership, no leadership authority is forever. It's all temporary. And number three is that we will one day be held accountable for how we lead. And if that's not intimidating enough, we're gonna look to this Old Testament story that's gonna help us understand exactly what that means and exactly what that looks like. In Daniel chapter 4, we're told this incredibly wild story, and there are two high-level leaders involved in this story: a faithful Hebrew young man named Daniel, and an all-over-the-place pagan Babylonian king named Nebuchadnezzar. And in a really strange twist of Scripture, we actually get this story written from the perspective and the pen of Nebuchadnezzar, because this was really his story and his experience, and Daniel was involved in it. So here's what it says in Daniel chapter 4, starting in verse 1. King Nebuchadnezzar, meaning this is written from King Nebuchadnezzar, written by King Nebuchadnezzar, and included in the Hebrew Scriptures. To the nations and peoples of every language who live in all the earth, may you prosper greatly. It is my pleasure to tell you about the miraculous signs and wonders that the Most High God has performed for me. How great are his signs, how mighty his wonders. His kingdom is an eternal kingdom. His dominion endures from generation to generation. Now, it doesn't sound very pagan off the bat. This sounds like someone who has had an experience of exactly the power of God, of the God of the Hebrews, that he previously did not know, that he previously did not recognize, and he's wanting to tell everyone what God has done in him and around him and for him. And so it says this in verse 4, I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at home in my palace, contented and prosperous. I was the ruler of Babylon. I was contented. I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was seeing our nation flourish. I had a dream that made me afraid. So I was contented and prosperous, but then I had a dream that made me afraid. As I was lying in bed, the images and visions that passed through my mind terrified me. When the magicians, enchanters, astrologers, and diviners came, I told them the dream, but they could not interpret it for me. Finally, Daniel came into my presence, and I told him the dream. So here's what I want you to understand. Dreams don't make us afraid unless they connect with real life reality, right? There is something in this dream that Nebuchadnezzar sensed that there was something true in the imagery of this dream. Again, it's like imagery and fantastical dreams, they don't scare us unless we have a sense of like, I think I know exactly what's happening in this dream. So in verse 9, I said, Daniel, I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in you. He recognized something in Daniel that could help him ease the tension and ease the fear and ease the nightmare that he has had. I recognize that the spirit of the holy gods is in you, and no mystery is too difficult for you. Here's my dream. Interpret it for me. These are the visions I saw while lying in bed. I looked, and there before me stood a tree in the middle of the land. Its height was enormous. The tree grew large and strong, and its top touched the sky. It was visible to the ends of the earth. Its leaves were beautiful, its fruit abundant, and on it was food for all. Under it wild animals found shelter, and the birds lived in the branches. From it every creature was fed. In the visions I saw while lying in bed, I looked, and there before me was a holy one, a messenger coming down from heaven. He called in a loud voice, "Cut down the tree and trim off its branches. Strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the animals flee from under it, and the birds from its branches. But let the stump and its roots, bound with iron and bronze, remain in the ground, in the grass of the field." And then it said, "Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven, and let him live with the animals among the plants of the earth. Let his mind be changed from that of a man, and let him be given the mind of an animal, till 7 times pass by for him. The decision is announced by messengers. The holy ones declare the verdict, so that the living may know." And this is a phrase that we're going to hear a bunch over the next the coming verses. "So that the living may know that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth, and gives them to anyone he wishes, and sets over them the lowliest of people." Now, if you're familiar with the story, know where this is going. Don't yell it out. Don't ruin this for anyone around you that may not know. But can you get a sense of why Nebuchadnezzar might be a little nervous? I mean, like why he won't stop until someone can tell him exactly what this means? I think he already knew exactly what this meant in some way. Because if you're the king of Babylon, the largest, most ambitious empire the world had seen in quite some time, that prided itself on its size and strength and ability to feed and care for and shelter all kinds of people. In fact, when Babylon would go and conquer another nation and impose tariffs and impose, sanctions and impose, all kinds of, use their military strength and carry away people into exile, what they would actually use, like the language that they would use to self was like, "Oh, we're not taking you away. We're going to go care for you. We're going to go shelter you. We're going to go so that you can actually have a better life. We're taking you away from your home so that we can shelter you and you can grow up stronger." I mean, like this is the way they talked about their own empire. So like there's this imagery that they already kind of have of like, we're kind of this tree that produces fruit, and we're this fruit bearing tree, and like people, Babylon produces fruit, and Babylon produces this, and Babylon shelters, and Babylon cares. And then in the dream you have a tree described in all the same ways that an angelic messenger declares is about to be cut down. Nebuchadnezzar should be nervous. And he should be afraid. I think Nebuchadnezzar's true fear is like, is this my kingdom or is this me personally? Is this the whole kingdom's going to be shaken, or am I personally going to be shaken? And then in the next few verses, we're actually told, and this is so wild, we're actually told that Daniel became gravely serious after hearing this. So serious that it's so grave and so stricken that Nebuchadnezzar actually tries to comfort and console him, like, "Hey, buddy, it's not that bad. It's just a dream, right? Like it's just a dream, and it's just a tree, and it's just it's just metaphor, right? Like nothing in this verse is actually going to happen, right, Daniel?" And in verse 22, Daniel responds, "Your Majesty, you are that tree." This isn't the kingdom. This is you, buddy. "You have become great and strong. Your greatness has grown until it reaches the sky, and your dominion extends to distant parts of the earth. This is the interpretation, your majesty. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox and be drenched with the dew of heaven. And 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes. The command to leave the stump of the tree with its roots means that your kingdom will be restored to you when and if you acknowledge that heaven rules. O king, you are the tree, and God's about to take you down a peg. Daniel speaks actually very boldly, but also just personally applies the words of the dream for Nebuchadnezzar. O king, you are the king, you are the tree, and you have grown strong and prosperous, and your strength is touching the sky, and that's great. But O king, you have not humbled yourself, and here's why you're about to be cut down. You have forgotten where your leadership comes from, where your strength comes from, where your kingdom comes from. You have forgotten that your role is temporary. You think that you're building an eternal kingdom, that you're going to be an eternal king, and I'm just telling you, it's all temporary. And you have forgotten that there is a God who keeps people accountable for how they lead and what they do with the influence he's given to them. You think you're king because of your strength. You are king because God in some way chose you to be king. You think that you'll be king forever. Your influence won't last 1 second past what God says. And you think that you're only accountable to yourself, but you are accountable before God for how you lead. And my friends, I'm just telling you, understanding this is at the heart of leadership, and it's at the heart of leading well. It's at the heart of our motivation for leading, that we do not lead for ourselves or for our own benefit, but we lead for the benefit of others and for the glory of God. And if Nebuchadnezzar had recognized that and had changed his ways for good, as Daniel urged him to do, the dream could have been a warning instead of a prophecy. But we're then told this in verse 29, 12 months later, so 1 year after having this dream, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" I mean, ruh-roh. From the outside, you're like, dude, come on, man. A year ago, you had this dream that you were going to be chopped down because of your lack of humility and your insistence in your own strength and your insistence on your own ability. Oh my gosh, a year after having that dream and being warned about it, you're going with is not this? I'm a pretty big deal. Look at everything I've done. Look at everything I've built. Look at everything that I've done for my majesty and for my glory and for my acclaim, for my fame. Aren't I the stuff? Aren't I awesome? Isn't everything I've done awesome? And it says this, because of course it does. Even as the words were on his lips, a voice came from heaven. "This is what is decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. Your royal authority has been taken from you. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes." The dream then became a reality, and the dream was a nightmare for Nebuchadnezzar. Immediately, what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from people and ate grass like the ox. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. And now I know what you're thinking. If you're a biblical skeptic, this all sounds too crazy. I get it. But I mean, this happened. If you look at the Babylonian lineage of kings, there is a 7-year period where Nebuchadnezzar's son is reigning but Nebuchadnezzar has not died, while his son is claiming that Nebuchadnezzar is just a king away on business, but he won't say where the business is or what the business is. There are also recovered and unearthed statues depicting King Nebuchadnezzar as a cow or deer with feathers. I mean, people didn't make those statues of a powerful king if this wasn't something that actually happened. If this was like a sarcastic image, like this didn't fly. Those types of things did not fly in Babylon. Feather joke aside, like these types of things didn't happen. Because this didn't happen. Like this happened. This happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. And then, again, King Nebuchadnezzar, recording this for himself in verse 34, it says, "At the end of that time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, I raised my eyes toward heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified him who lives forever. His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the peoples of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of the earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, 'What have you done?' Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, I praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven, because everything he does is right and all his ways are just. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble." Once again, leadership is a stewardship. Leadership is temporary, and we will be held accountable by God for how we lead. We'll just talk about these real quick. Leadership is a stewardship. Leadership is a stewardship, meaning that we all lead somewhere, we all lead something, we all lead someone. And whatever it is that you lead, whoever it is that you lead, wherever it is that you lead, God has entrusted you with influence, with someone, with something, or with somewhere. You didn't establish your leadership. God did that. You didn't make you a parent. I mean, you kind of did. You didn't make you a parent. God made you a parent. You didn't make you in charge of the company. God made you in charge of the company. You took the classes that got you your teaching license, but you didn't put you in that classroom with those students that God has put you with. God did. God put you in that classroom. God allowed your practice to flourish. God gave you the skills that put you in that place of influence with your clients. God gave you the family that you have, with the spouse that you have, with the kids that you have. So you didn't put you in the position of leadership. God put you in that position of leadership. As strong as you are, as smart as you are, as wise as you are, as able as you are, you didn't put you there. God put you there. And the choice that we have when we recognize that our leadership is a stewardship is to simply handle it well, to carry it well, to handle it with all diligence, and to lead with humility. This leadership, it came from you. This influence, it came from you. My family, it came from you. My children, they came from you. My classroom, it came from you. This job came from you. The skills, they came from you. The ability to learn systems, it came from you. So God, this responsibility, it came from you, and I want to honor you with it. So help me to honor you with it. I want to serve others with it. So help me to serve others with it. I want to lead with humility, that I am not in charge, you're in charge. I'm not in charge for my own benefit. I'm in charge for the good of those you've placed under my leadership. Leadership is a stewardship, which means we have to choose to lead with humility. The second truth of the context of our leadership is that leadership is temporary. Your influence will last exactly as long as God allows your leadership to last. Your influence will last as long as you're trustworthy with your leadership. If you're a parent, I just did some math on some of these things and looked up some statistics on some of these things. If you're a parent, from the moment that your baby was born until they turn 18 and move out of your house, hopefully, again, you want them to move out, but again, all on the way, until they turn 18 and move out, there are 936 weeks. I mean, as someone who's worked in youth and children's ministry for a long time, I worked hard over the years to try to raise this awareness that this is the amount of time we have with our children. And I did the math on with my own children, my daughters who have just turned 8 and 6, and for my 8-year-old, we're almost halfway out of weeks. We have half the week, a little over half the weeks left until she graduates and moves for college to wherever she's going to move for college, right? Like, we don't have forever. We have today, which means there's a sense of urgency, right? To how, like, that we don't have forever, and I heard some parents say this recently, that you think you have forever with your kids until they move out of college, and then you realize that most of the time that you're going to spend with your kids, you've already spent with your kids. We lead with urgency. Teachers, you have 180 days that you'll have this exact class of students that you have right now. Now, some of you, you're like, that can't go fast enough. But others of you, you recognize there's an opportunity that with these students that you have right now, with this class that you have right now, there's a responsibility, and you don't have forever, and you don't have a lifetime of leadership. You have 180 days. You have 150 left. You may have 140 something left. A month from now, you'll have 120 left. At the end of the semester, you only have 90 days left. I'm just telling you, we do not have forever to lead. We have today to lead. If you're a boss, and this is a statistic that bothers bosses, the average employee stays at a company a little less than 4 years. It's something like 3.9 years, which means from the moment that you hire someone, you may have a ticking clock of 4 years until that person leaves your influence and is no longer under your leadership, which means you don't have forever to lead them well and to grow them and to develop them and to pour yourself into them. You do have today. You do have today. And so here's the challenge here. When you understand that leadership is temporary, you don't wait to influence. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You don't wait until they've proven themselves and worthy of pouring yourselves into. You influence now, and you influence often, and you influence with urgency. You influence now, influence with urgency, and you influence as often as you can. And so parents, there's this idea that every single day is a day where you can influence your children. And the question is, will you put off I'm going to wait for some of these lessons until they're old enough to understand them? Or are you going to start building some of that leadership now, start influencing them now? Not just being there and making sure that their needs are taken care of, but make sure that you're raising them to be incredible young men and women from the age of, from the time that they're young people, from the time that they're young children, setting the stage for who they're going to be someday, for the people that they will be someday. We don't wait to influence. We don't wait for the perfect moment. We influence now, and we influence often. Teachers, again, in your classroom, you don't wait till the end of the year. You don't wait till the last day to impart some wisdom. You influence now, and you influence often. Bosses, you don't wait until the last day to write some wisdom in a going away card. You're leaving the company, going to your next job. You invest in people. You influence now. You influence often, because leadership is temporary. And here's the third thing: we will all be held accountable by God for how we lead. We will all be held accountable by God for how we lead. It's extraordinarily rare for the accountability to come in the form that it did for Nebuchadnezzar, right? But very few of us. I don't know one person in my lifetime who led poorly and God gave them the mind of a cow and feathers of and hair that grew like feathers and nails like an eagle's claw. I've never personally seen that happen for anyone. But accountability comes with leadership. Accountability always comes with leadership. This goes back to the idea of stewardship, that God will someday hold us accountable for what we did with what He placed in our hands. And if He gave us influence at work, if He gave us influence in a school, if He gave us influence with contracting jobs, if He gave us influence with children to have influence over, if He gave us a spouse that we have influence with, He will one day hold us accountable for what we did with what He placed in our hands. And that includes the way we lead our families, the way we lead our classrooms, the way we lead our companies, the way we lead our clients, the way we lead in our neighborhood, the way we lead in our community, the way we lead with love, the way we lead with humility, the way we lead with urgency, the way we lead the way that God has intended us to lead. And this should not, here's the thing, again, I know anytime we use the word accountability, it sounds kind of threatening, right? This shouldn't feel like a threat, but this is a promise, because this will happen. And so here's the amazing thing. The reason this shouldn't feel like a threat is because we get the opportunity to pre-decide to give the report that God is looking for. We get to choose today the report that we'll give someday. for how we led in our homes, for how we led in our neighborhood, for how we led in our schools, for how we led in our workplace, for how we led in our community, for how we led in our friendships and in our relationships, for how we led the people that we have influence with. We get to pre-decide. We get to decide today the report that we're going to one day give. So you pre-decide, God, I know you're going to hold me accountable for this, so I'm going to lead with all diligence. I'm going to lead the way that you would have me to lead. I'm going to be the mom or dad that you would have me to be. I'm going to be the husband or wife that you would have me to be. I'm going to be the boss that I know you desire for me to be. I'm going to be the teacher that I know you want me to be. I'm going to be the counselor that I know you want me to be. I'm going to be the friend that I know you want me to be. Because God, you've put this stuff in my hands, and I'm going to do everything I can to carry it well and to use it well. What this looks like is from Romans chapter 12, in verse 6 and verse 8, Paul's talking about the gifts that God has given to the church, that the spiritual gifts that God has given to the church. And by the way, in Pentecostal circles and charismatic circles like our church, we tend to kind of forget about these. These are the overlooked spiritual gifts, but Paul in Romans 12 gives us some spiritual gifts. He says we have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. These are gifts that God has given to us. It says, if your gift is to lead, do it diligently. Do it as if you understand that you will one day give a report for how you led, because you will. Do it as if you understand that your leadership has a ticking clock to it and you won't get to lead forever, but you have to lead now, because you do. And do it as if you understand that your leadership and your influence, it didn't start with you, but it started with God, because it does. He's the one that we'll give a report to because He put everything in our hands. He's the one that we'll give a report to because He understands that time doesn't last forever, and leadership doesn't last forever, and influence doesn't last forever, and relationships don't last forever, and friendships don't last forever, and a season with someone in your life doesn't last forever. But you have the opportunity to lead now. And leading with all diligence means that we lead now and we lead often. We lead with urgency. We lead with the sense that we're not going to have this opportunity to lead forever. So we lead now and we lead often. And we pre-decide that we're going to lead with all diligence so that we can give the report that we know God is going to look for. And we know God is looking for from our leadership. And so today as we close, I just want to give you a simple prayer. And I think if you'll pray this every day this week, first of all, I think you may start to recognize some moments and some opportunities that you have to lead that you right now may not understand as leadership opportunities and leadership moments. But I also feel like if we'll pray this prayer every day for this next week, this will become a prayer that helps us to lead well and to do exactly what we just said from Romans chapter 12. We'll lead with all diligence. So here's the prayer. Lord, help me to lead well today, whatever you give me to lead today. Matter of fact, it's on screen right now. Can we pray this together on the count of three? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Lord, help me to lead well today, whatever you give me to lead today. And here's what God's going to give you to lead today. Some of you, it's your children. Some of you, it's your relationship with your spouse. It's your workplace. It's your school. It's your neighborhood. It's the kids soccer team that you coach, or the volleyball team that you coach, or whatever it is that you're involved in our neighborhood. It's a small group. It's an AA group that you lead. It's an AA group that you lead part of the conversation. Whatever it may be, if God's given it to you, let's step up. Let's take the lead. Let's recognize the leadership and the influence that God's given us, and let's lead with all diligence. Would you let me pray for you? Heavenly Father, thank you so much for who you are. Thank you for your love, your grace, your mercy. Thank you for the opportunities and the influence that you have given us. God, I pray that we would be men and women who recognize the opportunities and the influence that you have given us, the opportunity and the influence that you've placed in our hands, the opportunities and the influence that you've placed before us. And God, I pray that we would be people in a world desperately needing someone to take the lead, that we would be men and women who take the lead. That we wouldn't see the moment and let it pass by. We wouldn't see the ball passing us and forget to swing. But God, we would take our swing. We would take the lead. We'd step up and be the men and women that you desire us to be in our workplaces, in our homes, in our schools, in whatever areas that you, in our practices, in whatever areas that you have given us leadership and you've given us influence, would you help us to carry it well? Would you help us to recognize that leadership is a stewardship that comes from you? And so help us to choose humility. Would you help us to recognize that leadership is temporary? And so we won't get to lead forever, but help us to lead now and help us to lead often. And God, would you help us to lead with a sense of urgency? And God, would you help us to recognize that we'll someday give a report and an account for how we led in all of the areas that you've given us. And so God, help us to decide today the report that we want to be able to give a good report someday. So we're going to lead with all diligence today. God, would you help us to recognize all of that? Would you help us to do all of that? Would you give us wisdom to know where this lands for all of us? Would you give us the courage to actually put it into practice and act like it's true? Because it is. So God, help us to be men and women who will take the lead and lead the way and lead well in ways that honor you, in ways that serve others, and ultimately in ways that recognize your leadership over us so that we can lead well for others. We love you, God. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Presence of the living God, I take it. The goodness of your love, oh please. Closer to my Father's heart, I trust in who you say you are. You are alive, living and breathing here in this place, speaking and healing. Your fullness and glory is right here before me. You're the living God, the living God. I hold you, the joy that's found in you alone. I cling to the peace that won't let go. Oh Jesus, you're the only one that satisfies. I run to the fountain of your hope. You are alive, living and breathing here in this place, speaking and healing. Your fullness and glory, this is right here before me. You're the living God, the living God. You are alive, living and breathing here in this place, speaking and healing. Your fullness and glory, this is right here before me. You're the living God, the living God. Death was never gonna hold you, so it's never gonna hold me, 'cause you're the only thing holding on to me. I know that death was never gonna hold you, so it's never gonna hold me, 'cause you're the only thing holding on to me. Oh, death was never gonna hold you, so it's never gonna hold me, 'cause you're the only thing holding on to me. Oh, death was never gonna hold you, so it's never gonna hold me, 'cause you're the only thing holding on. The more I see, the more I find to love. The more I know, the more I can't withhold my heart. I'm still amazed by who you are. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're holy. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're lovely. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're worthy. For as long as I live, I'll never get tired of giving you praise. With every day, another reason why. With every breath, another chance to give my heart. I'm still amazed by who you are. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're holy. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're lovely. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're worthy. For as long as I live, I'll never get tired of giving you praise. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're holy. Oh, somehow it never gets old telling you you're lovely. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're worthy. For as long as I live, I'll never get tired of giving you praise. How could there be more when you've already been so good? How could there be more when you've already been so kind? What else can I say? I'm still amazed by you. How could there be more when you've already been so good? Oh, how could there be more when you've already been so kind? What else can I say? I'm still amazed by you. What else can I say? I'm still amazed by you. Oh, somehow it never gets old telling you you're holy. Oh, somehow it never gets old telling you you're lovely. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're worthy. For as long as I live, I'll never get tired of giving you praise. No, it never gets old telling you you're holy. Oh, somehow it never gets old telling you you're lovely. Somehow it never gets old telling you you're worthy. For as long as I live, I'll never get tired of giving you praise.
Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us for Movement Church Online. Hopefully you found today to be helpful, hope-filled, encouraging, challenging, and it leaves you a better follower of Jesus because of your time with us today. And as we close out service, we just have a few ways that we would love to encourage you to connect with our church and engage with our church beyond this weekend experience. First of all, we want to let you know the ways that you can give. You can give online at our website, www.mvmnt.church/give. You can give with the Cash App, which is $Movement LC, or you can give by sending a cash or check offering to our P.O. box. But however and whenever you give, thank you so much for your generosity that makes so much ministry possible in and through our church. Could not happen without your generosity, so we want to continuously say thank you. And then if you have a need, we'd love to hear from you, so please reach out by phone, by Facebook, or by email, and we would love to be the church for you in your time of need. So all of those ways you can reach out are on screen right now. We want to know if we can pray for you, we want to know if we can pastor you and be there for you, or if there's a way we can partner with you to meet your needs. So please reach out if you have a need. And that's all we've got for you today. I look forward to seeing you next time, either in person or online. Until then, I hope you have a great day, a great week, and I hope you'll keep being the movement.